Toki Pona. The language of good, the linguistic equivalent of Marie Kondoing your entire vocabulary. You've stripped language down to its bare bones, thrown half the dictionary in the trash, and called it enlightenment. Bravo. Truly, who needs precision when you can say everything in exactly the same 120 words? But today, my dear minimalist linguists, I have a gift for you. A real gift. Something to liberate your minds from the tyranny of oversimplification. I present to you Classical Chinese, the language for people who like their communication layered, profound, and dripping with 3,000 years of intellectual superiority. Let's talk about what you're missing. Here lies Toki Pona, 120 words. That's it. 120 little Lego blocks to describe the entirety of human existence. Oh, but you're simplifying, you say. Stripping life down to its essentials, right? You're not minimalists. You're linguistic toddlers smashing blocks together and calling it poetry. You want to say you're happy? Easy. Just slap me Pona. Sad? That's me Ike. Hungry? That's me Moku Ekili. Oh, so versatile, so profound, so embarrassingly inadequate. And now, behold, Classical Chinese. A language so vast, so complex, so impossibly rich, it makes Toki Pona look like a crayon drawing tape to the fridge. This isn't a language, it's an art form, a philosophy, a historical archive, and a literary weapon all rolled into one. Take your Mi Pona e Toki Sina. Cute, right? Now try expressing benevolence, humaneness, and universal moral order in one character. That's Ren for you. One stroke, infinite layers of meaning. And here's the kicker. You'll spend a lifetime learning how to use it properly. No shortcuts, no baby talk, just pure, unadulterated intellectual rigor. This is Shin Exeson. It means heart. But it's not just your physical heart, no. It's your emotional heart, your moral core, the essence of your being. You see, Classical Chinese doesn't just tell you what to feel, it forces you to become the feeling. Meanwhile, Toki Pona over here is like, heart? Oh, that's just Ilotawa or something. Toki Pona flattens life, Classical Chinese elevates it, and don't even get me started on vocabulary. Your little Toki Pona has what? Kili for all fruits? Cute. Classical Chinese has Tao for peach, Mei for plum, Yu for pomelo, and 100 others you'll never remember. But trust me, they're there, waiting to be summoned like linguistic deities. Precision? Check. Poetry? Double check. A smug sense of intellectual superiority? Oh, that's a triple check. So, my dear Toki Ponists, let's stop pretending your linguistic minimalism is a virtue. You're not enlightened. You're just lazy. You've replaced depth with shallowness, nuance with oversimplification, and called it progress. Classical Chinese doesn't just speak. It sings. It paints. It transcends. It's not the language of inner peace. It's the language of the cosmos, the universe, the eternal Tao. So, are you ready to leave your little linguistic daycare behind and join the adults? Or do you need another round of Mi Pona Pona? Class dismissed. Toki Pona, the language where every sentence feels like a toddler's first attempt at poetry. Look at this masterpiece, Mimoku Ekili. Translation, I eat fruit. That's it. No adjectives, no flavors, no description of whether it's an apple, a mango, or, heaven forbid, a durian. Just fruit. You could be talking about a banana, a kumquat, or frankly, a rock, and no one would know the difference. It's like Toki Pona is allergic to nuance. And the beauty of Toki Pona? It doesn't stop there. Everything in this language is built on the same one-size-fits-all logic. Want to talk about the complexities of love? That's Pona. Hate? Oh, that's Ike. The entire spectrum of human emotion boiled down to good or bad. Bravo! Who needs emotional nuance when you can shove all of life's messiness into 2 boxes? Take this word, comma. It means to come, to become, to arrive, or to happen. Sure, all of those ideas are vaguely related, but Toki Pona doesn't care about pesky distinctions. Why waste brain power on separate words when you can just slap comma on everything? Need to say, I'm coming to the party? That's mi kama tawa tomo musi. Want to say, I'm becoming a better person? Oh, look, it's mi kama pona. Context, you say? Oh, yes. Context is everything in Toki Pona, which is code for good luck figuring out what anyone's actually talking about. And don't even get me started on this so-called dictionary, about 120 words. That's it. A whole language with fewer words than your average fast food menu. You think you've simplified communication? No. You've just outsourced all the hard work to context and hand gestures. Want to say something profound? Better hope your audience can interpret your tone, because otherwise, you're just making caveman noises with extra steps. This little gem means, I speak your language well. Or, depending on context, it might mean, I talk about your good language. Or, I say your words are nice. Or, I babble about how great you are. The point is, you'll never really know. Toki Pona has turned communication into a guessing game where everyone's a winner, except the poor soul trying to understand what's being said. But don't worry, Toki Ponists. I get it. You've convinced yourselves that stripping language to its bare bones is an act of enlightenment. After all, fewer words means fewer misunderstandings, right? Wrong. What you've done is lobotomized communication. You've taken the Mona Lisa of language and turned it into a stick figure. And for what? So you can feel smugly superior while saying Mi pona e toki sina like it's a philosophical revelation. Newsflash. You're not the Buddha. You're just a linguist with commitment issues. But don't worry. The adults are talking now. Enter classical Chinese. Prepare to be humbled. And now, my dear Toki Ponists, I present to you the glorious antidote to your linguistic kindergarten. Classical Chinese. A language so rich, so profound, so impossibly intricate that just looking at it could make your minimalist brain short-circuit. This isn't a language for dabblers. It's for the linguistic elite, the intellectual marathon runners, not the 120-word sprinters. Let's start with this beauty, Ren. A simple character, right? Just 2 strokes. But don't let its simplicity fool you. This little guy carries the weight of centuries of philosophical debate. It's benevolence, humanity, and moral virtue all rolled into one. Confucius built an entire ethical system around this word. Meanwhile, in Toki Pona, you're over there saying Pona Pona to express good. Revolutionary. You want precision? You want depth? In classical Chinese, a single character can mean mountain, strength, or the enduring spirit of humanity, depending on context. And that's just before breakfast. While you're fumbling around with Mikamatawa, classical Chinese is out here composing entire treatises in 4-character idioms so dense, you'll need a doctorate just to interpret them. Take the phrase, Yi Xin Chuan Xin. Why E-A-X is N Chuan, X is N. From heart to heart. Sounds poetic, right? Well, guess what? It also encapsulates Zen Buddhist teachings about non-verbal enlightenment. Toki Pona equivalent? Oh, wait, you don't have one. And let's talk about vocabulary. Your Toki Pona dictionary is the size of a leaflet. Meanwhile, classical Chinese has over 50,000 characters. Sure, only about 8,000 are in common use today, but hey, that's still 7,880 more words than you've got. And each one is a work of art, a tapestry of meaning and history. Take qi, qi. It means breath, energy, spirit, or the fundamental force of the universe. Compare that to Toki Pona's kili, which basically means, it's fruit, who cares what kind? You think Toki Pona's simplicity makes it profound? Classical Chinese doesn't do simple. Writing a single sentence is an intellectual workout. Each character is a brushstroke in the grand painting of thought. Meanwhile, Toki Pona is finger painting. Want to say life is fleeting in Toki Pona? You'll probably end up with something like Mi Toki e Tenpo Lily. Wow. So profound. Classical Chinese, on the other hand, gives you Ren Sheng Ru Jiao Lu, which means Human life is like morning dew, beautiful, poetic, and dripping with existential gravitas. But here's the real kicker. Classical Chinese isn't just a language. It's a gateway to 3,000 years of intellectual tradition. Want to understand Confucius, Laozi, Zhuangzi? You'll need classical Chinese for that. Meanwhile, Toki Pona is over here patting itself on the back for being culturally neutral. Translation: it has no culture. Classical Chinese, on the other hand, is culture. It's philosophy, poetry, art, and history all wrapped into one glorious, impenetrable package. You don't just speak it, you ascend into it. So, dear Toki Ponists, if you're ready to leave your linguistic training wheels behind, I invite you to join the big leagues. Trade your me Pona for a language that doesn't just express ideas, it crafts them, weaves them, immortalizes them. But fair warning, it's not for the faint of heart. If you think mastering 120 words makes you enlightened, wait until you spend a decade trying to write one coherent classical Chinese poem. Or, stick with Pona Pona. That's cute too. All right, Toki Ponists, let's talk about something I know you love: practicality. After all, your entire language is built on the idea that fewer words, better communication, right? But what if I told you that's nonsense? Because when it comes to actual practical benefits, classical Chinese leaves your emimoku in the dust. Let's start with your so-called practical phrases. Here's one of your linguistic gems: mi toki e toki sina pona. Translation: I speak your language well. Now, imagine saying this to someone who doesn't already know Toki Pona. They'd look at you like you just ordered a burger in interpretive dance. Meanwhile, classical Chinese doesn't just tell people you're speaking their language, it assumes they've already ascended to your intellectual level. Why say, I speak your language well, when you could just quote Confucius and immediately sound like the reincarnation of a scholar king? Practical? I think yes. Scene shifts to Dave holding a scroll with the phrase Ren Sheng Ru Meng, Ren Sheng Ru Meng. Life is but a dream. Dave. Now, let's talk about expressing profound ideas. Classical Chinese doesn't waste time spelling out every little thing like your mimoku ekili. No, it uses rich, compact idioms like Ren Sheng Ru Meng, which means life is but a dream. 4 characters. That's it. Toki Pona couldn't dream of being this efficient because your entire language collapses when you need to say anything beyond good or bad. And let's not forget how useful Toki Pona is in real life. Need to write a grocery list? Good luck when kili is your only word for every fruit on the planet. Are you buying an apple, a banana, a pineapple? Who knows? It's all just kili. Hope you like surprises. Now, classical Chinese, it has a word for every fruit under the sun. You want peaches? That's tao, tao. Plums? May, may. Or how about a pomelo? You. Not only does this make your grocery list more precise, but it also ensures you don't come home with a bag of durians when you wanted oranges. You're welcome. And let's talk about the joy of writing. Toki Pona phrases look like they were scrawled in crayon by a toddler. Mimoku ekili, riveting. Classical Chinese, on the other hand, turns every sentence into a work of art. Writing in classical Chinese isn't just communication, it's performance. Each brushstroke carries weight, meaning, and beauty. You're not just saying, I ate fruit. You're creating a visual masterpiece that could hang in a museum. But hey, maybe you like the simplicity of Toki Pona. Maybe you think a language with 120 words is all you need to get by. And sure, if your life's ambition is to sit around saying Pona Pona and Ike all day, then good for you. But for those of us who aspire to more, those of us who want to express, say, the fleeting beauty of a spring breeze as it carries the scent of blooming plum blossoms, well, classical Chinese is the only choice. So let's be real. Toki Pona is practical in the same way a stick figure is practical. It gets the job done, but it's not winning any art competitions. Classical Chinese, on the other hand, is the Sistine Chapel of languages. Sure, it takes years to master. Sure, you'll probably cry trying to learn all the characters. But once you do, you won't just speak, you'll create. So what'll it be, Toki Ponists? Do you want to live in a world of stick figures, or are you ready to join the scholars in the halls of linguistic greatness? Think about it. I'll be over here, writing my Ren Sheng Ru Jiao Lu. Life is like morning dew. Meanwhile, you can keep saying Mi Pona e Toki Sina, and hope someone mistakes it for wisdom. Now let's get into what you Toki Ponists love to brag about. Cultural neutrality. Oh yes, the language that's so stripped down, it doesn't even bother with pesky things like culture, history, or depth. You've boiled the richness of human experience into Pona and Ike, good and bad. It's like trying to describe the Sistine Chapel with stick figures and a bottle of whiteout. Meanwhile, classical Chinese is not just a language, it's a cultural monument, a living, breathing testament to 3,000 years of philosophy, art, literature, and history. It doesn't just describe life, it defines it, interprets it, and gives it meaning. Confucius didn't just say, be good. No, he wrote entire treatises about Ren, benevolence, humanity, the cornerstone of morality. Try fitting that into your 120-word Toki toolkit. Toki Pona says Mi Pona. I'm good. That's it. Classical Chinese, on the other hand, gives us Tian Ren He Yi, Tian Ren He Wao, a phrase that means the unity of heaven and humanity. Not only does it convey goodness, it ties your personal virtue to the cosmos itself. One phrase, infinite depth. But sure, Toki Ponists, tell me again how your culturally neutral language is so much more profound. Let's talk history. Classical Chinese gave us the philosophies of Confucius, Laozi, and Zhuangzi. It recorded the rise and fall of dynasties, the poetry of the Tang dynasty, the military strategies of Sun Tzu, and the meditations of Zen Buddhism. Toki Pona, on the other hand, gave us, what? A sentence about eating fruit? Where's your culture, Toki Pona? Where's your depth? Where's your legacy? Oh, right, you don't have one, because a language with 120 words can't even sustain a bedtime story, let alone a civilization. Here's the difference, folks. Classical Chinese produced Tao Te Ching, a philosophical masterpiece so rich in meaning that scholars have spent millennia debating its interpretation. Toki Pona produced a phrasebook that tells you how to say, I feel happy, and where's the bathroom? Truly groundbreaking. And let's not forget the aesthetics. Classical Chinese isn't just written, it's painted. Calligraphy is an art form, each stroke a reflection of the writer's spirit. Toki Pona? Oh, you've got stick figure letters and phonetic gibberish that looks like it was scrawled on a napkin during lunch. Very profound. You want culture? You want beauty? Classical Chinese gives us phrases like Jiangshan Ruhua. The rivers and mountains are like a painting. Toki Pona gives us Tomotelo Suli, big waterhouse. Translation: you just called the ocean a waterhouse. Stunning. Here's the harsh truth, Toki Ponists. Your language isn't culturally neutral. It's culturally void. You've stripped away all the richness, the history, the poetry of human expression, and left us with a hollow shell of words. Meanwhile, classical Chinese stands as a testament to everything language can achieve: philosophy, art, science, and beyond. So, my dear Toki Ponists, when you're ready to stop playing in the linguistic kiddie pool and dive into the ocean of cultural and intellectual greatness, classical Chinese will be here waiting for you. Until then, enjoy your Mi Pona. 6. The true test: using classical Chinese to communicate. All right, Toki Ponists, let's get to the heart of the matter: communication. Your precious Toki Pona was designed to make talking easy, oversimplified, dumbed down, and as vague as humanly possible. Meanwhile, classical Chinese demands excellence. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not here to make life easy. It's here to make life profound. Here we have Mi Toki Toki Pona Sina, which supposedly means, I speak your good language. Sounds simple, right? But wait. Does it mean, I speak your good language well? Or, I am speaking about your good language. Or maybe, just maybe, your good language is the one I'm speaking. Nobody knows. Because Toki Pona thrives on ambiguity. You've taken communication and turned it into a guessing game. Now look at this. Wo Xin Wu Hui, Woxn Wu Hu I. My heart has no regrets. Elegant, concise, and unambiguous. Classical Chinese doesn't just communicate, it immortalizes your thoughts in poetry. It transforms mundane expressions into art. You want to talk about regret in Toki Pona? What's your best shot? Mi ike e pilin mi. Translation. I bad my feelings. Wow, so deep. And let's not forget the fun of classical Chinese. Imagine you're a poet in the Tang dynasty. You're not just writing sentences, you're composing entire landscapes, emotions, and philosophies in 4 characters. A single line could mean 10 different things, depending on context, historical knowledge, and how much rice wine your audience has had. Compare that to Toki Pona, where the most profound thing you can say is mi sona e ni mi pona. Translation? I know this. I'm good. Revolutionary. Let's break this down even further. This is Xin, XNN, the classical Chinese word for heart. But it's not. Just your literal heart. It's your emotional heart, your moral center, your capacity for thought and feeling. It's the essence of what makes you human. Toki Pona equivalent? Pilin, which just means feeling. No nuance, no layers, no depth. It's like calling the Mona Lisa a doodle. Now let's put these languages to the test. Say you're trying to impress someone. The Toki Ponist walks up and says, Mi Toki Pona esina, which might mean, I speak to you nicely. Okay, great. But does that mean they're being polite? Flirting? Apologizing? Who knows? Meanwhile, the classical Chinese poet strolls in, drops shan yu mu shi mu yu ji, shan you mu x wat mu you zhe. The mountain has trees and the trees have branches. A seemingly simple line, but it's actually a metaphor for longing, connection, and unattainable love. Game over. The Toki Ponist loses. Every time. So there you have it. Toki Pona reduces communication to caveman grunts and vague hand-waving, while classical Chinese elevates it to an art form. One is a linguistic shortcut. The other is a lifelong journey. Guess which one actually respects your intelligence? So my dear Toki Ponists, if you're ready to stop saying, I bad my feelings, and start writing phrases that could bring emperors to tears, there's a whole world of classical Chinese waiting for you. Or, you could stick with mi Pona and call it a day. Your move. 7th, conclusion, a humble invitation. Dave. And so, my dear Toki Ponists, we arrive at the end of our little journey. You've had your fun with mi Pona and mi Moku e Kili. You've danced in the shallow end of the linguistic pool, splashing around with your 120 words, convinced you've unlocked the secrets of the universe. But let's face it, you haven't. You're just decorating your sentences with philosophical baby blocks and calling it enlightenment. It's cute, really. Adorable, even. But it's time to grow up. Because while you've been busy reducing life to good and bad, classical Chinese has been out. Here shaping civilizations, writing poetry that makes grown scholars cry, and creating philosophical frameworks so deep they make your Pona Pona look like tic-tac-toe. You see, Toki Pona isn't a language, it's a linguistic diet plan. It strips out all the fat, the flavor, the richness, and leaves you with a tasteless broth of words. Meanwhile, classical Chinese is a full banquet, a feast of ideas layered with meaning, history, and artistry. Take it from the greats. Confucius didn't spend his life pondering mi Pona. Laozi didn't write the Tao Te Ching in a language that calls the ocean a water house. Zhuangzi didn't sit under a tree contemplating the universe with a vocabulary that couldn't distinguish between a peach and a potato. These thinkers used classical Chinese, a language so powerful, so refined, that even a single character could encapsulate an entire philosophy. So, here's my humble invitation. Join the adults at the linguistic table. Trade your minimalist phrases for a language that challenges you, inspires you, and forces you to think on a higher plane. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it will take years to master. But anything worth doing requires effort, doesn't it? Or, you can stick with Toki Pona. Keep saying mi pona I toki sina and patting yourself on the back for communicating efficiently. Meanwhile, the rest of us will be over here composing poetry that can actually make someone feel something. Here's the thing, Toki Ponists. Simplicity isn't the same as enlightenment. You've been sold a lie. Real enlightenment isn't about reducing complexity. It's about embracing it. Life is messy, layered, and profound, and so is classical Chinese. So, are you ready to stop playing with crayons and start painting with light? Because classical Chinese is here, waiting for you. All it asks is everything you've got. Or you could just go back to saying, mi pona pona, and hope someone mistakes it for wisdom. Your choice. Classical Chinese, the language of the cosmos. Toki Pona, the language of fruit salads.